My classmate claimed she could shapeshift. 20 years later and I still believe her. I've spent 2/3 of my life trying to debunk this one or come up with a reasonable explanation. When I was in 5th grade, I rode the bus with a girl who was a grade or two below me. We lived on opposite sides of a rather large apartment complex but could still walk to each other's homes. Let's call her Mika. Mika was born in Romania and had moved here a few years prior to my meeting her. She had heterochromia. Mika had brown eyes, but half of one of her irises was blue. This is relevant later. Her family was very off. I went over to her apartment a few times to hang out with her and remembered seeing a lot of unusual decor in her home. Lots of candles, a few altars, and a lot of taxidermy. Her mother would get very upset whenever she brought friends over, so she would typically sneak me and a few of our other friends in whenever her mom was out shopping. My mom was pregnant at the time and often felt sick, so I never brought my friends over unless she was out shopping or at the doctor's. She had never met Mika. A lot of the other kids were scared of her or felt uneasy around her. None of our mutual friends could explain why. I did too at times for some unknown reason, but as a fellow outcast we stuck by each other's sides. After a few months of knowing each other, she started telling me that her family followed a belief system similar to paganism. I forget exactly what she called their religion, but it wasn't Wicca/pagan or any other common, for lack of a better word, spiritual belief system. Mika started claiming she had special powers. I immediately called bull and told her to prove it. She responded by saying that she would shapeshift into a cat and visit me later that evening. My family and I lived on the 3rd floor of our apartment building. There were no fire escapes, balconies, or anything like that. We barely even had window ledges. As a side note, I loved cute stuff. Hello Kitty, Care Bears, My Little Pony, all that good stuff. My best friend at the time was very into fashion and loved to act like a high schooler. The few times she saw me in cartoon PJs, she'd make jokes. So, I stopped wearing anything like that to school or sleepovers almost a full year prior to me meeting Mika. I went to bed at my normal bedtime of 9:30 wearing some Care Bear pajamas that my mom had bought me a week prior. Nobody had seen me in them aside from my parents. Around 3 a.m. that night, I woke up to hear scratching at my window. I jumped out of bed, looked out my window, and saw a black cat staring directly at me. The cat was sitting on the very thin window ledge and raised its paw at me as if it was waving at me. Freaked out, I told myself it was a dream and went back to sleep. That morning while my mom was cooking breakfast, she asked if I had heard anything weird outside the night before. I asked what she meant. I saw the weirdest thing last night. I heard scratching at my window. I got up to see what it was and saw a black cat on the window ledge. It looked like it was trying to open my window. I sat there in silence, unsure of what to say. My mom continued. I was afraid it was going to fall, so I brought it inside, carried it downstairs and put it outside. You should have seen its eyes. It had one eye that was half blue. I've never seen a cat like that before. I felt so sick that I couldn't speak or finish my breakfast. Not wanting to approach Mika after all this, I stood off to the side away from all the other kids until she walked up to me. Hey gloomy bear, why didn't you let me in last night? I was stunned. I could have died. At least your mom was nice enough to take me downstairs. I stopped hanging around her as much after that. Our building caught on fire a few weeks after all this happened and we ended up moving a few towns away. I haven't seen or heard from her since. To this day my mom still remembers the cat. She'll mention it in passing every few years and make comments about how weird it was that a cat could have gotten up on that ledge. For the last 20 years I've been racking my brain looking for an explanation. If anyone has one, I'd love to hear it.